100-foot robot golf!
100-Foot Robot Golf is a title that really says it all. This is a game about golf as played by giant robots. It was influenced by old 70s and 80s super robot shows and has an interesting premise. Does this play like a reskinned version of mini golf with fun obstacle course holes, action mech battles, or giant kaiju fights? Well, not really, but we'll get to that in detail here in just a moment. First, we gotta give credit to the developers. This game was created and self-published by No Goblin. Initially, the idea for this one came about while a member of the group was playing a Neo Geo golf game called Neo Turf Masters. And to think my mind went straight to Mecha Robot Golf on the NES instead. Anyways, it finished up its release in 2016 on PlayStation 4 and also managed to get a specific PSVR virtual reality version a few days later. It didn't see a PC port until the following year, which is how I played it on PC. Something to note about this one is that it is not a serious game. The entire tone tries very hard to come across as a sort of B-movie comedy heavily referential to other works. This doesn't land for me. Admittedly, I'm not a super big fan of humor in general, but this one seems like it's just trying way too hard, which is unfortunate because I really like the initial idea. This kind of not-so-serious retro-future cartoon sport is something right up my alley. And speaking of alleys, what I'd most compare this one to is Milo's Astro Lanes on the Nintendo 64. Very similar conceptually in that they are both games with a retro-future audio-visual set working to incorporate arcade gameplay mechanics into standard sports rule sets. Milo's Astro Lanes, for example, is a more 1950s sci-fi Americana-themed bowling tournament game. The stages here play into the idea. Some have drop-offs into space if you don't throw the ball down the ramp hard enough, or have extraterrestrial critters popping up and down the lane. And there's also a pickup system in place where you're able to power up your ball with things like size or speed, but also drop traps when it is the enemy's turn with things like bombs or ball-melting acids. Does 100-Foot Robot Golf incorporate similar, unique, and interesting arcadey ideas into the standard game of golf? Well, no, not really. Let me explain. But first, hi, I'm Empty. I use this YouTube channel to cover mech games. You know, games about big robots. If you'd like to keep up with the videos, we'd always love to see you click the subscription button. But if you just want to chat about mecha, let us know down in the comments what your favorite mech sport video game is. The story of this one is played out mostly through semi-animated cutscenes overdubbed with over-the-top voice acting, almost exclusively image stills with animated mouths, jokingly not matching up to the dub.
Welcome back to Yes, Let's Drive the Car. The moment we have been waiting for has finally arrived. The final hole.
A lot of this VA also has a very apparent bedroom quality to it. I think they did this on purpose. Outside of the cutscenes, sometimes you'll get moments of character exposition during the actual golf matches, though the real star of the show for most people will probably be the announcers.
Humans, robots, we're here today at the biggest and most important section of the Robot Golf Tour schedule, the final.
Who seem to be pulled from a very popular podcast show called My Brother, and Me. These guys don't seem to play much into the actual main plot of the game and mostly just narrate what is happening during the actual golfing gameplay.
Max, I'm pretty sure that this is still our famous McElroy televised coverage of the greatest game, the Robot King's game of robot golf.
Anyways, the story begins sometime after some sort of moon-destroying catastrophe ubiquitously known as the Eagle Incident has decimated the moon and caused the downfall of televised robot golf. The previous host of Yes, Let's Drive for Par, Max, reunites with Vonnie, who heads the 100-foot Robot Golf Tour Association in order to gather together old golf players and produce a reunion show of robot golf on the moon. From here you travel around playing golf matches as their story develops. Firstly, we meet back up with Camilla. I can't really pinpoint her character inspiration, but I want to say she's some sort of aristocratic upper-class lady from the deep south. Also, she reminds me of Carmen Sandiego. Maybe that's just all the red and the big hat. After that, we get ourselves over to Ernie's lightly loved mountain vehicles to convince an aging and portly used car salesman back into the sport. After this, we get a full-on Evangelion parody where Misato is replaced by a character named Panzato, a play on Misato. She finds the fifth child and brings them back into the fold of the robot golf parody variant of Nerve called Nugable. Also, the child is a corgi. I think this here is also a reference to Cowboy Bebop. And also, it takes 5 of these dogs to pilot their robot. Project C, who seems to be the token combiner mecha, I guess modeled after Voltron.
Go fetch! Go get the ball!
Next character up pilots a more EVA-inspired biomech, and that'd be Suzume, the BioPal Labs scientist. Vonnie shows up at an open house and antagonizes her into rejoining as an athlete. Suzume is very reluctant as she reveals that the Eagle incident seemingly killed her golfing partner Mason, deprived her of the arm and leg appendages, and also gave her amnesia. Vonnie drops some intel that Mason's life signals have been picked up on the scanners deep in the Mariana Trench. Coincidentally, this is where the next episode of Golf takes place. So Suzumi makes it down here and ends up finding what's left of Mason, a head in a jar, Futurama style. He pilots a bot that seems to take its flair from Gurren Lagann. It's a big red thing without a head, and instead the whole chest piece is the head. Get it? 'Cause the pilot is just a head without a body. Anyway, Suzume reveals to Mason that she keeps having some recurring dreams about the moon that she wants to get to the bottom of, likely an effort to fix her amnesia. Next pilots to recruit a 50s greaser-styled guy named Uncle, along with a young ruffian named Aveline. These two are a bit immature and rebellious, a team who prefers skateboarding over working, which leads to their forced early retirement from future NASA. That is until they're picked up by Panzato to pilot the Project Unit A. This one goes a Pacific Rim route. There are 2 mines to control 1 machine. Now that all the golfers are in order, the finale tournament on the moon commences. The dogs can't compete after being locked in a hotel room, a meteor storm causes Camilla and Ernie to team up in 1 mech, and a curious Suzume takes a detour to find a secret underground base ran by Vonnie.
Look, under your feet.
Huh? See? And you were making fun of me for dusty moon rocks.
Since the last accident, let's keep it that way.
I guess you had to find out about this sooner or later, Suzume.
Turns out she's housing the Infinity Ball X here, which works as some sort of diabolical golf mechanism she dreams of using to turn herself into a 1,000,000-foot robot golf player. We determine her motive in a flashback where she shares a new type moment modeled after Camille's introduction to Jared in Gundam Zeta. Except instead of confusing the gender of their name, the issue is that they look like a pop star instead of looking like a golfer. Turns out Mason knew all about this in the first place, and his error when showing Vonnie how exactly to hit the Infinity Balls years prior was actually what caused the Eagle incident that blew up the moon. He does turn around and end up saving the day by throwing his head into Vonnie's particle accelerator machine, using it to shrink her and Max before capture in a spare head jar. The end. Credits roll. But then the true ending happens that reveals Project C commenced the Canine Instrumentality Project. This is sort of like Shinji's congratulations moment at the tail end of Evangelion, except here the dogs make a reality where everyone surrounds them and just tells them that they are good dogs.
Oh, that's a good dog.
Good dog.
Like.
Standard gameplay during the campaign sets you in whichever mech is appropriate for the story and plays you against NPCs. Hit the ball into the hole. I'm not sure if there's actually even a win-lose setting here, or if you just get bronze tokens for taking last place before moving the story forward. Golf itself is probably pretty self-explanatory. You walk up to the ball, and you hit it with a club. You can control its direction, which club you use, and where you hit the ball exactly. After this, there's a small quick time event that is pretty much the same with every mech, despite looking visually distinct. Click the button when the meter is in the right place to hit the ball with the correct power and the correct aim. Whoever uses the least amount of hits to get the ball in the hole wins. Unless you're playing the quick play mode, then you can change the settings a little bit. Since this game isn't turn-based, every golfer plays at the exact same time, which means you can set it to whoever is fastest, regardless of the number of putts.
Because this is going to be a real tough putt.
But also you can get up to some shenanigans, like hitting your opponents, getting in the way of their ball, and using giant robot lasers to shoot buildings apart. Very fun idea, but the realization of this feels pretty incidental. I was really hoping for more in this aspect, but the game made my expectation fall so short. There is also a bonus mission where you do control 4 training bots at the exact same time, which might actually be the most interesting gameplay in this game. Overall, with gameplay, it felt like it just dragged on. One of the reasons for this is because the ball seems to move in slow motion after you hit it. You can hit the ball and then run after it to keep up pace. I know some stages are set underwater, so you'd expect to move at a snail's pace, but this seems to keep up regardless of level biome. Also, I played the entire game until the end, and a lack of tutorial meant I never was told what the Super Ball power did. I clicked it here and there and still couldn't figure it out on my own. This is kind of a testament to bad game design that I was able to play all the way to the credit scroll with absolute ease, and was left completely unaware of what should be a basic game mechanic. Visuals are probably the highlight of this one. The environments are all acceptable, there's a limited number of them, and more variety would have been great, but I'd say they all fall into an it's okay range for what it is. The cooler part is the mech designs, the character art, the cutscenes. The art team did a pretty good job with this one. I liked looking at the characters and trying to pick apart what actual anime led to their inspiration. I'm pretty sure Vani is at least in part inspired by Char Aznable, granted the blonde hair and face covering. And the mechs? They're the same sort of way. You do get the option to customize them via paint job by spending winning tokens in some shops. Weirdly enough, there is an entire Saints Row crossover skin shop as well as a player mecha. Oh, and a giant skeleton for some reason.
Welcome back. What an action-packed last few holes this has been on the Robot Golf map.
Now, I've not personally ever watched or followed the podcast My Brother and Me, or Mimimbam for short. I am aware this is a pretty big and popular show starring 3 McElroy brothers. That'd be Justin, Travis, and Griffin. I guess their father Clint sometimes makes an appearance as well, and as listed in the 100-foot Robot Golf credits, he's in here too. Now, these guys don't really play into the story and only work as announcers during the actual golf gameplay sections. Since I'm inexperienced with their show, I'm not sure if their humor comes across the same in-game, but I'm not sure if it really hit for me anyways. I will say that their voice lines do seem to repeat several times over, so even if you do like it, or having a good time, you're going to hear the same voice lines like 400 times. The other voice acting isn't good in general, but this game does have cool sound effects. Seem to be ripped straight out of an old Japanese sound library, which makes hitting par fun. The credits don't really do a good job of explaining things under the hood, as I'm uncertain if the music was actually handcrafted or lifted from royalty-free packs or what. I assume it was handmade, granted how very appropriate each one is to the situation at hand when it plays, but granted its basis is heavy on the old-school cartoon front, along with a healthy helping of mid-century muzak. I could be wrong. I liked the music, it felt very on point. Now, I personally didn't experience things like bugs or errors whatsoever. However, this game is really just not that good in general. On one hand, maybe the comedy just isn't to my taste and someone else will really enjoy it, but on the other hand, it's not like the gameplay is really doing all that much either. This whole experience feels like one of those wild tangent demo games that come default on computers back in the 2000s. Except here it's a full paid experience and things just don't quite feel like they ever develop out, and you're just kinda left with something that feels like a single demo level repeated several times over with a different paint coat each time. Okay, so the humor doesn't land for me, but the purposefully bad quality also makes it worse. It doesn't feel campy and silly and just feels more like I'm experiencing a high schooler's group project. Everything is so forced, it seems.
I'm just very excited because I love dogs.
And the gameplay. The gameplay had so much promise, so much opportunity to do something more. Maps with unique landmarks, maybe a puzzle element in there, a different way to get the ball into the hole, robots with unique gameplay styles or mechanics, power-ups or super abilities, or anything more than just hitting a building to get it out of the way. Nope, and none of that here. Just hit the ball vaguely toward the green. And that made me so disappointed. I guess maybe if you and your buddies want to get together and give this one a go in multiplayer for a few rounds on a Friday night, it might be fun. Though I really must point out that several other Steam reviews and discussions point out that there seems to be a problem with the multiplayer not functioning correctly. I wasn't able to test the online mode personally myself, but I feel like I should bring up that there's a chance that this thing just doesn't work. Final thoughts. This one is a real hard recommend. It's over the top, too over the top. It tries to combine concepts like golf, parody, giant robots all together, but does all of them in a poor way, which leads to really no standout reason to play this one, unless you're just really wound up by the idea of robot golf in the first place. Or unless I guess you want to play a who's who of which internet personality is voice acting which character, or what anime shows led to the art design of any certain mecha. I'm gonna say pass on this one.